Hello, you few but faithful. Yes, this is an interim video I'm doing because you both like the last one so much. So I'm hoping in future to be able to have the means of doing proper sort of good quality video capture without it all going out of sync and everything. So in the meantime I thought I'd do this because I've spoken of my Star Trek videos and things like that, and I never bought any Voyager ones, certainly not on DVD. I only bought VHS ones that I liked. I didn't buy the box sets of Voyager. I only bought the original series, Next Gen from season 3, Deep Space Nine and Enterprise. So yeah, Voyager wasn't my favourite, but it doesn't mean to say from watching it again on Netflix and some that I remember, there weren't some classic episodes in there. So I am going to do this. I'm afraid it's just going to be sort of like me talking and stills, so I'll probably stick some music on in the background, etc. to talk on each video. So
number 10,
Twisted. This is from season 2. Might be a bit surprising, but I've watched this episode tons of times. I love it. It's just, what can I say? It's like a bad dream or a nightmare. It's just sort of starts with everybody beginning to disappear, etc. And eventually anybody who does find each other ends up getting sort of pushed towards the centre of the ship. Eventually Janeway and Kim actually see the distortion which come from outside, and Janeway gets caught up in it, and there's all this screen rippling nonsense going off. And yeah, it's just the way it kind of builds up, and it closes in and closes in. They try this, they try that, nothing happens, and all of a sudden they're about to go back into engineering, and suddenly the door starts to all ripple and squash. And it's the eerie aspect of it. It feels like it's a bad dream or a nightmare, and it closes in and closes in, and to a disappointing end, basically. It's not the fact that they survive it, it's the fact that it's just kind of, it was some kind of message, just their way of saying hello and things like that. Data was loaded into Voyager's computer at the same time data was downloaded from Voyager's computer. So I wish they'd have just finished it off on, rather than a positive note, a bit more like, right, what's happening here? Who's got our information? If it had been left in that sense with a sort of an eerie taste in your mouth, then I think it would have been better. But I do like it. I do like the build up to everything on the story, even to the point of when Janeway's quite deluded and she just suddenly sits up and starts sprouting a load of nonsense and then lays down again. It's all those little things that might happen in a bad dream, but yes, do like that one. Yes, definitely.
number 9,
The Gift. I've chose this deliberately. This is the episode, of course, where Kes becomes almost omnipotent, non-corporeal, superpowers, really difficult to control, so she's needing to leave the ship. But it's before she does, obviously when 7 of 9's just been introduced, etc. And there's a moment where 7 of 9 is still Borg homesick, so she's wanting to try and contact her people. And Kes begins to manipulate space. And the reason I put these two together is because that rippling effect actually occurs then before the bulkhead blows away. So I always wondered, and I don't know if I have missed anything or not, whether the Twisted thing was to do with something that Kes was trying to do in the future. I'm not sure if they ever did explore that, but that's why I chose that one. And it was, it was sad to see Kes go. I know I put her in my annoying characters in some ways, but in other ways, yeah, I did actually like her, and especially how she looks towards the end as well.
number 8,
Caretaker Part 1 and 2. Obviously we first meet Janeway for the first time and realise that smoking still takes place in the 24th century, or at least on Voyager anyway. It's certainly not allowed on the Enterprise because old Mark Twain weren't allowed to have a cigar. Not saying that Janeway smokes cigars, but yes, Caretaker Part 1 and 2. it was a new series. It was, it was great for that. Obviously they did the bit of a handing the torch over from Deep Space Nine, etc. And it was great in the fact that it went into the sort of the original series, which pure exploration of places never seen before. It got some of the grit from Deep Space Nine and the Maquis, etc., and not trusting each other. So, usually the pilots are quite naff. I'd probably say that Emissary is about the best pilot you could get out of the Star Trek stuff that I like to watch. But yeah, I still like this one, even to the point, you get into this new part of space, they're having to explore it, there's an array doing things and firing energy like you've never seen before. You come across Neelix amongst a load of junk and stuff like that. And you do feel like you're really out there on your own when you're watching it. So yeah, whether that's direction, actors, etc., not entirely sure.
Number 7.
Equinox or Equinox, part 1 and 2. Interesting premise. Yeah, it's almost like a parallel in the fact that you've got Voyager goes away into the Delta Quadrant without any choice, and you wonder, Voyager and Janeway and everybody are trying to keep doing good and trying not to make enemies unless the people who are threatening them are complete arseholes. And this is the point where this is like a what-if situation almost, where the Equinox, which was going to be the next class of starship according to the technical manual, and certainly appeared as one of those design types more or less, and this was the other opposite thing. What happens if you throw all the Starfleet out the window, or the Federation principles out the window, and say, right, we're going to get home no matter what. So yeah, lots of eerie moments where one of these aliens is going to turn up and attack somebody and ionize that person, and so it's great for atmosphere in that particular. I think also what's great about it, you just get these two differing ideals of two starship captains. And yeah, I suppose what I would say is it always seems to be with the two-parters that Janeway probably, it'd be hard to act in a leader in that particular situation, to be fair, but I think Janeway probably just gets too much a dog with a bone. I'm right. If you don't concur with what I'm going to do, I'm going to send you to the brig. So it was a bit, there's a bit of that in that two-parter. But yeah, a great story.
Number 6.
Phage. Another brilliant idea. Another mortal enemy that this time, they're not getting assimilated and not getting blown up like Klingons and Romulans would do. This one, you could be just walking around the street and then all of a sudden something nicks your lungs. Quite a disturbing point. Neelix just zap, his lungs are just no longer there, but he's still alive. So the premise about the Phage and the Vidians is a really good story. It obviously has room to be where eventually a cure might be found for the Phage, so that they don't have to keep harvesting people's organs, and I believe that happens over time. But it also, the general Phage ethos, for want of a better term, is where even if people are cured, do we think that that's going to stop that mindset straight away? So yes, a really good, powerful episode.
Number 5.
Scorpion 1 and 2. Well, it had to happen. It was always a situation I felt with the Borg, is that it was great when they got defeated, but at the same time you felt kind of disappointed that they did, and is that the last we're going to see of such a powerful race, etc., or assimilated race. So yeah, so it was always the thing that was the Borg going to survive? Obviously Voyager ends up in Borg space where it all begins, but Scorpion, all of a sudden you get the opening sequence and 3 Borg vessels coming along as cocky as out, even though they don't feel that emotion, and zap, just get blown away. 3 Borg cubes just get blown away just like that. So yeah, it was a great idea. Again, a new species, so you'd have people like Q and Kess that were the apex of kind of spiritual, non-corporeal energy. You'd have the Borg that were the apex of technology, and then you had species 8472, which were the apex of biological perfection, for want of a better term. And I bet they don't have nightclubs either. So yeah, it was a great idea, and it was great that the Borg continued. Let's put it that way. Okay.
Number 4.
Endgame Part 2. I've seen obviously both episodes of Endgame, because the only Voyager stuff I've got is a Borg box set that one of my bosses kindly bought me a few years ago. And Endgame, yeah, I've seen Part 1 and Part 2, and I can't really get on with Part 1. And I think in a strange kind of ways, when I was watching it on TV, I missed Part 1 and I only saw Part 2, so there's possibly that's hindered or tainted my view a wee bit. But after watching Endgame Part 1 and then 2, I still think, I mean obviously Part 2 is the action bit. 2 Catherine Janeways, oh my god, what are we thinking? But I just like the byplay between the old, shall I say, the future Janeway and Mrs. Borg. I think it's brilliant. It's just the way where the Borg Queen thinks she's got it all sussed, and then she tries to assimilate the future Janeway, who was actually not there in front of her, and it's just the line which she just says, "I'm not actually here, Your Majesty," and so like taking the mess out of the entire sort of Borg supremacy, if you like. I don't think they have nightclubs either. So yeah, and it's just a brilliant ending. They destroy the Borg sphere with the transphasic torpedoes. It explodes, and Voyager comes flying through into Earth's orbit. Almost like a phoenix from the ashes type of thing. Yeah, we're the ones that kick the Borg's butt there. So yeah, brilliant episode.
Number 3.
The Chute. Another really dark episode, and it's about, they kind of said this on Deep Space Nine, where Quark said, you stop feeding any Federation officer after a few days and they can become as violent as any Klingon or Cardassian, etc. So this kind of covered that with Harry Kim and Tom Parrish dropping down this chute into some kind of penal colony, and that's how the people arrived. You don't turn up at reception with a police officer, they just drop you down this chute, you couldn't get back out again. And when they tried to get out, it was just basically to realise that they weren't on a planet, but they were part of some massive ship. So at the end of the chute was just open space, which was sealed off, of course. But the idea of everybody being savage and Kim sticking to his guns, where he's my friend, and the whole rest of them who have been there a long time are just laughing at that concept and saying, yeah, kindness is not going to get you very far here. So yes, a very good dark episode.
Number 2.
Year of Hell 1 and 2, featuring the original Clarence Boddicker there, of course. Another powerful episode. This time I can more excuse Janeway being a bit of a dog with a bone, because she has to be. Even when it comes to the point where the ship's just basically falling apart, that she's got to make the decisions, the hard decisions. So I can cope with that more in this situation. Obviously this is the one where a guy who, from the Krenim Imperium, developed a device, a space device, which basically fired some kind of temporal beam into a planet's surface and rearranged time. So it could have been a nice city, and then it just turns it into all fields. But obviously there's a wave that develops from that and has to impact the rest of time as well. So we get these kind of situations, and eventually Janeway forms an alliance with the Nahydra and the Mawasi, and gives them what's been developed as temporal shielding. I think it was 7 that developed that, so that they could actually attack that ship, because basically once they got past the temporal aspect of it, the time ship, as it became known, wasn't that well defended when it came to conventional weapons. So, but yeah, it's a very interesting story, and I just like the idea again that there's 3 different characters of the same sort of security patrol officer that they come encounter with. First of all, he's this jumpy person because his race has just been overrun by the Zal, so he's just very jumpy. When the timeline changes, he's suddenly this very serious, dark person who basically has got the power to open fire on Voyager, etc. And then the third time you see him, right at the end, is where he's just a security patrol person. He reminds Voyager that they need to travel around this particular area of space, and he wishes them good journey. But it's yeah, so I like that touch.
Number 1.
The Thor. This is fantastic. Another great dark episode. What would happen if you were in a virtual reality situation, a few of you, and your fear got manifested into a single being, and that being basically had control over your lives because you're in this computer generated situation. The computer's interpreted fear as a being, etc., and he's developed over time. He's managed to kill people by pretending to kill them in the simulation. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. The way Janeway conquers this in the end, and the way in the end that he actually fades. Yeah, a really good dark episode, a good bit of exploration there. That concludes my top 10 Voyager episodes. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please comment below, please hit subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter as Steve Birkin of Hybropsyche, but also if you've got a video that you want me to see that you've done on your channel, please give me a kick. Put it in the comments below and I'll have a look at it. So until next time, live long and...
You've been trying to procreate?